3 months after the Battle of Kepler 442b, Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the observation deck of the new human space station called Defender's Rest. Through the large windows, he could see dozens of ships from different species coming and going. Everything had changed. The rescued Villani had told their story to the entire galaxy. The data recovered from the Krex facility showed the full scope of their planned genocide. 12 peaceful species had been targeted for systematic destruction, and the Krex had been preparing weapons to wipe out any race that opposed them. "Captain," Lieutenant Park Sora called from behind him, "Ambassador Quan Mi-young is here to see you." Wu-jin turned to see the Federation diplomat approaching. Mi-young had been sent to handle the political aftermath of the human intervention. It had been a difficult job. "Captain Li," Mi-young said with a smile, "I have news from the Federation Council." "Good news or bad news?" "Both. The bad news is that you and your crew are still technically in violation of Federation military law." Wu-jin nodded. He had expected that. The Federation couldn't officially approve of military action taken without authorization. "The good news," Mi-young continued, "is that the Council has decided not to prosecute anyone involved in the rescue operation. They're calling it a humanitarian intervention conducted by concerned citizens." "And what about the Krex Empire?" Mi-young's expression became serious. "The Krex are finished as a major power. After the galaxy learned what they were doing, 17 different species declared war on them. The Krex Empire has broken apart into small competing factions. That was the biggest change of all. The evidence recovered from Kepler 442b had horrified the galaxy. Species that had never fought wars before were demanding justice for the Villani. The peaceful races had finally realized that sometimes violence was necessary to stop evil. "Captain," Dr. Choi Min-ho said as he joined them on the observation deck, "the Villani delegation is ready to meet with you." Wu-jin followed the doctor to a large conference room. Inside, Elder Velnara and several other Villani leaders were waiting. The blue-skinned aliens looked much healthier than they had during the rescue operation 3 months ago. "Captain Li," Elder Velnara said, "we wanted to thank you again for what you and your people did for us." "You don't need to thank us," Wu-jin replied. "We did what anyone should have done." "But that's exactly the point," another Villani elder said. "You did what anyone should have done, but you were the only ones who actually did it." Elder Velnara handed Wu-jin a datapad. "This contains the formal request from the Villani Council and 8 other peaceful species. We want humanity to be our protectors." Wu-jin was surprised. "Your protectors?" "The galaxy has many peaceful species," the elder explained. "We create art, conduct research, and live in harmony. But we cannot defend ourselves against races like the Krex. We need guardians. We need warriors who fight for justice, not conquest. We need humans," another Villani added. Before Wu-jin could respond, Admiral Nam Ji-haye entered the conference room. She had been promoted to command the new Human Defense Corps, a military organization specifically created to protect peaceful species. "Captain," she said, "I have more requests like this one. 12 different species have asked for human protection. The Federation Council is overwhelmed with applications." "What does that mean for us?" Wu-jin asked. "It means we're not cargo haulers anymore," Ji-hai replied with a smile. General Park Chan-woo, the new overall commander of human military forces, joined the conversation. "The Federation has officially recognized humanity's role as galactic peacekeepers. We're being given resources to build a proper military for the first time in 150 years. "What kind of resources?" "Shipyards, weapons factories, training facilities. Everything we need to become the protectors these peaceful species are asking for." Wu-jin looked around the room. The crew of the UES Defiance was there too. Sora, Taeho, Dami, Hyunsu, and Minho. They were the people who had answered a simple distress call and changed the galaxy. "What happened to the other crews from the rescue fleet?" he asked. Colonel Bae Sung-min, who was now training new human Marines, answered. "They're heroes, Captain. Every one of them. Captain Oh Ye-jin is setting up the new fighter training academy. Master Chief Lim Jae-sung is teaching special operations tactics. Commodore Seo Junho is designing our new warships. And the ones who didn't make it. The room became quiet. 68 ships and over 2,000 people had died in the rescue operation. They were remembered as heroes, but they were still gone. They're the reason we're here, Jihai said softly. They prove that humans will sacrifice everything to protect innocent people. That's why these species trust us. Dr. Jung Haiwan, a military medic who had joined the Defense Corps, spoke up. Captain, we've learned something interesting about human biology during the rescue operations. What's that? Humans are naturally immune to most of the biological weapons the Kreks developed. Our immune systems are so aggressive that they can fight off diseases designed for other species. That's because we come from a deathworld engineer. Kang Hyun-soo said. Earth made us tough enough to survive things that would kill most aliens. Chief Warrant Officer Moon Tae-young nodded. The galaxy used to call us primitive because we come from a dangerous planet. Now they're grateful for exactly the same reason. Captain Shin Bo-young, who was now running search and rescue operations throughout the galaxy, added, We get distress calls every day now. Not just from species under attack, but from ships in trouble, colonies facing disasters, even Federation vessels that need help. And we answer everyone, Lieutenant Commander Ro Yoonji said. She was coordinating the communications for the Defense Corps. Ambassador Mi-young handed Woo-jin another datapad. Captain, this is from the Federation President herself. She wants to offer you the position of Special Liaison for Humanitarian Operations. What does that mean? It means you would coordinate all rescue operations in the galaxy. You would have the authority to deploy human forces whenever innocent people need help. Woo-jin looked at the datapad, then at his crew. They had started this journey as the crew of a simple cargo ship. Now they were being offered the chance to help people across the entire galaxy. What do you think? He asked his crew. I think there are still people out there who need our help, Sora said. And we're the ones who know how to help them, Tae-ho added. Besides, Dami said with a grin, what else are we going to do? Go back to hauling cargo? Woo-jin smiled and accepted the datapad from Ambassador Mi-young. Tell the Federation President that we accept. 6 months later, the UES Defiance was no longer a cargo ship. It had been rebuilt as an advanced rescue vessel, equipped with the best technology humanity could provide. The ship that had started everything was now the flagship of the Human Defense Corps. Captain Woo-jin stood on the bridge, looking at a new distress signal that had just arrived. This time it was from a species called the Zephyrians, who were being attacked by space pirates. Sora, confirm the signal, he ordered. Signal confirmed, Captain. The Zephyrians are asking for help. How long to reach them? 2 days at maximum speed. Woo-jin looked around his bridge. His crew was ready, just like they had been when they first heard the Villani distress call, but now they weren't alone. They had an entire fleet of human ships ready to help. All right, people, he said. We have work to do. As the Defiance jumped to hyperspace, Woo-jin thought about how much had changed. Humans were no longer seen as primitive cargo haulers. They were the guardians of the galaxy, the ones who answered when innocent people called for help. The galaxy had learned that sometimes you need someone willing to be called crazy. Sometimes you need warriors who fight for justice instead of conquest. Sometimes you need people from a death world who remember what it means to protect others. Sometimes you need humans. The distress call had been clear. Help us. And Earth had deployed its deathworlders. The galaxy would never be the same. The Kreks reinforcements arrived exactly when Lieutenant Commander Ro Yoonji had predicted. 20 warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442b system, their weapons already charging for battle. Admiral Nam Ji-hai watched them approach on her tactical display. The human fleet had been reduced to 130 ships, and many of those were damaged. The crews were tired from the first battle, and their ammunition was running low. Admiral, Commodore Seo Junho reported from his command ship, the enemy fleet is moving into attack formation. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. What's the status of the rescue operation? Ji-hai asked. Captain Lee Woo-jin's voice came over the communication system from the planet's surface. We've rescued 8,000 Volani so far, Admiral, but there are still more in the deep facilities. We found something else too. What is it, Captain? The Kreks have been experimenting on themselves. They've created super soldiers using the Volani brain fluid. They're bigger, faster, and smarter than normal Kreks. Dr. Choi Min-ho's voice joined the conversation. Admiral, I've been studying the enhanced Krek soldiers. They're definitely more dangerous than regular Kreks, but they have weaknesses too. What kind of weaknesses? The enhancements make them aggressive and confident, but also reckless. They think they're unbeatable, so they don't use proper tactics. Major Hong Gitai, who was leading ground forces in the prison complex, had encountered the enhanced Kreks firsthand. Admiral, these super soldiers are tough, but they fight like individuals, not as a team. My Marines are taking them down by working together. Captain Shin Bo-young, who was leading search and rescue operations, reported from another part of the complex. We found the main laboratory, Admiral. The Kreks have been mass-producing the enhancement serum. There are thousands of doses here. Destroy it all, Jihai ordered. We can't let them create more of those monsters. Chief Warrant Officer Moon Tae-young was the demolitions expert assigned to destroy the Kreks facilities. Already on it, Admiral. This whole complex is going to be nothing but a crater when I'm done. But even as the humans worked to rescue the Volani and destroy the Kreks facilities, the enemy reinforcement fleet was getting closer. Jihi knew her tired fleet couldn't win another major battle. All ships, prepare for defensive positions, she ordered. We protect the rescue ships until every Volani is safe. That's when something unexpected happened. Captain Oh Ye-jin, who was patrolling the outer system with her fighter squadron, detected new ships approaching. Admiral, I'm picking up hyperspace signatures, multiple ships incoming. More Kreks? Jihai asked. No, ma'am. These are Federation ships. 3 Federation cruisers and a dozen smaller vessels dropped out of hyperspace. But they weren't taking aggressive positions. Instead, they moved to a neutral location between the human fleet and the approaching Kreks reinforcements. This is Admiral Chen Wei of the Federation Third Fleet, a voice announced over the communication channels. All human vessels you are ordered to withdraw immediately and return to Federation space. Jihai activated her own communication system. Admiral Chen, we are conducting a humanitarian rescue operation. We will not abandon innocent civilians. Admiral Nam, you are in violation of Federation law and galactic treaties. You have attacked a sovereign government without authorization. The Kreks were torturing and murdering innocent people, Jihai replied angrily. Where was the Federation when the Volani needed help? There was a long pause before Admiral Chen responded. That is not your decision to make, Admiral. But before Jihai could answer, another voice came over the communication system. It was a Volani voice, speaking an accented but clear galactic standard language. Federation ships, this is Elder Velnara of the Volani Council. I am speaking from one of your human rescue ships. The humans did not attack a sovereign government. They stopped a genocide. The Volani Elder's voice was weak but determined. The Kreks were not governing our world. They were using us as resources, like animals in a farm. The humans saved us from a fate worse than death. More Volani voices joined the conversation, all rescued prisoners who wanted to tell their story. They described the torture, the experiments, and the slow death the Kreks had planned for their entire species. Admiral Chen was quiet for several minutes. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Admiral Nam, the Federation cannot officially support your actions, but we cannot stop you from completing your rescue operation. What about the Kreks reinforcements? Jihai asked. The Federation will observe the situation. If the Kreks attack Federation vessels, we will be forced to defend ourselves. The Federation ships moved into a position between the human rescue fleet and the Kreks warships. It wasn't direct help, but it was enough to give the humans time to complete their mission. On the planet's surface, the rescue operation continued. Captain Wu Jin led his team deeper into the Kreks complex, looking for more prisoners. Captain, Sergeant Yoon Dami called from ahead. You need to see this. They had found the main control room for the entire operation. Computer displays showed the full scope of the Kreks plan. It was worse than anyone had imagined. They weren't just targeting the Volani, Commander Kim Tae-ho said as he studied the data. They had a list of 12 different peaceful species. The Volani were just the first. Look at this, Dr. Minho said, pointing to another display. They were planning to create different types of enhanced soldiers using the unique biology of each species. They wanted to build an army that could conquer the entire galaxy. Wu Jin felt sick. If the humans hadn't intervened, the Kreks would have systematically destroyed every peaceful race in known space. Download everything, he ordered. The galaxy needs to see this. Meanwhile, the enhanced Krek soldiers were making their final stand in the deepest part of the complex. These super soldiers were everything the Kreks had claimed. Bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter than normal Kreks. But as Dr. Minho had predicted, they were also overconfident and reckless. I count 20 enhanced soldiers, Major Hongi Tai reported to his Marines. They're guarding the last group of Volani prisoners. We have to get through them. The enhanced Kreks charged at the human soldiers, expecting to overwhelm them with superior physical abilities. But the humans didn't fight the way the Kreks expected. Instead of meeting the super soldiers head-on, the humans used teamwork, tactics, and the environment to their advantage. They led the enhanced Kreks into narrow corridors where their size worked against them. They used explosives to collapse ceilings and trap the enemy soldiers. They coordinated their attack so that multiple humans engaged each super soldier at the same time. These things are tough, one Marine reported, but they're not invincible. A knife in the right spot will take them down just like anything else. The battle was fierce and costly, but the humans finally broke through the enhanced Kreks' defenses. They found the last group of Volani prisoners, including the species' most important scientists and leaders. Captain, one of the rescued Volani scientists, said to Wu Jin, "We must tell you something important. The Kreks didn't just steal our brain fluid, they stole our knowledge too. They have our scientific research, including weapons technology." What kind of weapons? Biological weapons designed to target specific species. They could use our research to create diseases that would kill every human or every member of any other race. Wu Jin realized the mission had become even more important. They weren't just rescuing prisoners, they were preventing the Kreks from becoming an unstoppable force in the galaxy. Moon Tae-young, he called to the demolitions expert. Change of plans. We need to destroy everything in this complex, not just the facilities, but all the data and research too. Already prepared, Captain. This place is going to be completely erased. As the humans finished evacuating the last of the Volani prisoners, Chief Warrant Officer Moon Tae-young activated his demolition charges. The entire Kreks complex disappeared in a series of massive explosions. Above them in space, the Kreks reinforcement fleet watched their investment go up in smoke. They had spent years building the facility and conducting their research. Now it was all gone. Admiral, Captain Oh Ye-jin reported, the Kreks fleet is withdrawing. I think they realize they've lost more than just a battle here. Admiral Ji-hee looked at the tactical display. The Kreks ships were indeed retreating, but she knew this wasn't over. The humans had struck a major blow against the Kreks empire, but they had also made a powerful enemy. All ships prepare for departure, she ordered. We're taking the Volani to safety and then we're going home. But as the human fleet prepared to leave Kepler 442b, Ji-hee knew that everything had changed. Humans had proven they could fight and win against one of the galaxy's most dangerous military powers. More importantly, they had proven they were willing to risk everything to protect innocent people. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The attack began at exactly 0600 hours ship time. 200 human vessels dropped their stealth systems and charged toward the Kreks forces around Kepler 442b. Admiral Nam Ji-hee watched from the bridge of Seoul's Pride as the first wave of ships raced toward the orbital defense platforms. All ramming ships. Maintain formation until the last moment. Make every hit count. Commodore Seo Junho led 12 converted cargo ships straight at the nearest platform. The massive Kreks structure began firing its weapons, sending beams of energy toward the approaching humans. The first ship, a converted mining vessel called Iron Mountain, took a direct hit and exploded, but the other 11 ships kept coming. "Ramming speed!" Junho shouted into his communicator. "For the Volani!" The cargo ship slammed into the orbital platform at full speed. The explosions lit up space like new stars. When the light faded, The platform was gone, and so were the 11 human ships. Platform 7 destroyed. Lieutenant Commander Ro Yunji reported from her cyber warfare station. But we lost 11 ships and over 300 people. They knew the risk, Jihai said quietly. Make their sacrifice count. All around the planet, similar attacks were happening. Human ships rammed into the orbital platforms, trading their lives for strategic advantage. It was a type of warfare that most galactic species considered insane, but it was working. Captain Oyejin led her fighter squadron against Platform 3. Her small, fast ships dodged the platform's defensive fire and hit it from multiple angles. "This is Blue Leader," she called over the communication system. "Target the power generators. If we can knock out their power, they can't fire their main weapons." Her fighters weaved between the platform's gun towers, firing at critical systems. The Krex defenders were confused by the human tactics. Most spacefaring races fought in organized formations, but the human fighters moved like a swarm of angry insects. "Blue 7, you have 3 enemy fighters on your tail," Oyejin warned one of her pilots. "I see them, Blue Leader. Watch this." The human pilot did something no sane person would try. He flew his fighter straight at the orbital platform, with the Krex fighters chasing him. At the last second, he pulled up sharply. The Krex pilots flying heavier fighters couldn't turn as quickly. They crashed into the platform. "That's how we do it," the pilot shouted. While the fighters attacked the platforms, the main human fleet engaged the Krex warships. The enemy vessels were larger and more heavily armed, but they were also slower and less maneuverable. Colonel Bei Sungmin led the boarding attack on the Krex flagship. His ship, a disguised transport called Mountain Tiger, flew directly at the enemy warship while taking heavy fire. "Prepare for boarding," he shouted to his Marines. "Remember, these aliens are bigger and stronger than us, but they're not used to close combat. Get inside their reach and use your knives." The Mountain Tiger crashed into the side of the Krex flagship, its reinforced nose cutting through the enemy ship's hull. Immediately, Bei Sungmin's Marines poured through the breach. The Krex soldiers inside the ship were not prepared for human boarding tactics. They were used to fighting at long range with energy weapons. When humans appeared, in their corridors with knives and close combat weapons, the aliens panicked. "They're inside our ship," a Krex officer shouted in his own language. "How did they get inside our ship?" The humans moved through the Krex vessel like a storm. They knew exactly where to go because they had studied the ship's design during their approach. Within minutes, they had control of the engine room and the bridge. "Flagship neutralized," Bei Sungmin reported to Admiral Jihai. "We have prisoners and valuable intelligence." But the battle was far from over. The remaining Krex ships were fighting back hard, and more enemy vessels were arriving from deeper in their territory. Master Chief Lim Jae-sung was leading a special mission to disable the planet's surface defenses. His team used small, fast ships to get through the orbital battle and land on Kepler 442b. "Remember the plan," he told his soldiers as their ship approached the planet's surface. "We take out the communication towers first, then the power generators. The Krex won't be able to coordinate their defense without communications." The landing was rough. Krex ground forces were waiting for them with heavy weapons. But Lim Jae-sung's team had trained for this kind of fighting. "Spread out and move fast," he ordered. "Don't give them stationary targets." The humans moved across the battlefield in small groups, using cover and speed to avoid the Krex weapons. When they did fight, they fought at close range where their smaller size and quicker reflexes gave them an advantage. "Krex soldiers are tough, but they're slow," one of the human soldiers reported. "They can't keep up with us in urban terrain." Meanwhile, Captain Li Wu-jin was leading the rescue mission to the Volani prison camps. The UES Defiance, along with 20 other ships, had broken through the orbital defenses and was approaching the main prison complex. "Dami, take your team and secure the perimeter," Wu-jin ordered Sergeant Yoon Dami. "Minho, be ready with medical support. Those Volani are going to need immediate help." The prison camp was heavily guarded, but the Krex soldiers were confused by the chaos of the orbital battle above. They didn't know whether to defend the camp or help with the space battle. Human soldiers poured into the complex, moving faster than the Kreks could respond. They had studied the layout of the facility and knew exactly where the Villani were being held. First building cleared, Dami reported. We found 200 Villani. They're in bad condition, but they're alive. Second building has 500 more, another team leader called. The Kreks were in the middle of some kind of procedure. We stopped them just in time. Dr. Minho rushed to help the rescued Villani. What he saw made him angry and sad at the same time. The peaceful aliens had been connected to machines that were slowly draining fluid from their brains. Many of them were barely conscious. Get them disconnected from those machines carefully, he ordered his medical team. If we move too fast, we could kill them. As the humans worked to free the Villani, the space battle continued above them. More orbital platforms were being destroyed by ramming attacks, but the cost in human lives was enormous. We've lost 60 ships, Ro Yunji reported to Admiral Jihai. But we've destroyed 8 of the 12 orbital platforms. What about the Kreks warships? 2 destroyed, 1 captured, 3 damaged, and retreating. Jihai nodded. The battle was going better than she had hoped, but it was still far from over. Admiral, Captain Oyejin's voice crackled over the communication system. I'm detecting more Kreks ships approaching. Looks like a full battle fleet. How many ships? 20. Warships plus support vessels. They'll be here in 2 hours. Jihai realized that the Kreks were bringing reinforcements. The humans had won the first battle, but they might not be able to win the second one. All ships, continue the rescue operation, she ordered. We save as many Villani as possible before the reinforcements arrive. But even as she gave the order, Jihai knew something had changed. The humans had proven they could fight the Kreks and win. They had shown the galaxy that peaceful species didn't have to suffer in silence. Captain Wu Jin, she called to the man who had started it all. How many Villani have you rescued so far? Over 3,000, Admiral. But there are still thousands, more in the other camps. Keep working, Captain, we're not leaving anyone behind. On the surface of Kepler 442b, human soldiers continued their desperate race to save the Villani prisoners. They fought through Kreks defenses, disabled alien equipment, and carried wounded Villani to safety. And in space above them, the remaining human ships prepared for the next wave of enemy reinforcements. They had lost many ships and many friends, but they had also accomplished something remarkable. They had proven that sometimes the galaxy needed someone willing to be called crazy, someone willing to risk everything to help innocent people. They had proven that humans were exactly what the galaxy needed, even if the galaxy didn't know it yet. Admiral Nam Jihai stood in the conference room aboard the UES Defiance, looking at the tactical display. Around her were the leaders of the growing human fleet. They had come from all over the galaxy, answering Captain Li Wujin's call for help. We have 150 ships so far, she said to the group. More are coming, but we can't wait much longer. Every hour we delay, more Villani die. Colonel Bae Sung-min, commander of the 1st Korean Colonial Marines, pointed to the planet. On the display. My intelligence team has been studying the Kreks positions. They have the Villani divided into different camps. The largest one has about 50,000 prisoners. 50,000, whispered Dr. Choi Minho, and they're all being tortured. Captain Oye Jin, leader of the fighter squadron, leaned forward. Admiral, my pilots are ready. We've been hiding ships and weapons for years, waiting for a chance like this. Jihai looked around the room. These people had come from human colonies that officially didn't have any military forces. The Federation thought humans were too dangerous to have real armies, so they limited human military power. But humans had found ways around those limits. Where did all these ships come from? She asked. Master Chief Lim Jae-sung, a special operations veteran, smiled grimly. Admiral, humans have been preparing for war since we joined the Federation. Not war against the Federation, but war against people like the Kreks. We knew this day would come, Oye Jin added. We knew that someday, someone would need our help, and the Federation wouldn't be there. Ji He understood. For 150 years, humans had been treated like second-class citizens in the galaxy. They were called violent and primitive. They were given jobs like mining, cargo hauling, and basic labor, but they never forgot how to fight. "Show me what we have," she said. Bae Sungmin activated the fleet display. 50 converted cargo ships with hidden weapons, 25 patrol boats that we've upgraded with military systems, 15 ships that are officially mining vessels but are actually armed transports. "And the rest?" Ji-hai asked. Lim Jae-sung spoke up. 40 ships that don't officially exist, Admiral. Ships we've been building and hiding for decades. Some of them are as powerful as Federation destroyers." Ji-hai was amazed. The human colonies had built a secret navy right under the Federation's nose. What about ground forces? 5,000 Marines from different colonies, Bae Sungmin said. Another 3,000 special operations soldiers, plus about 2,000 volunteers with combat experience. Volunteers? Miners, engineers, cargo haulers, security guards. People who wanted to help but aren't official soldiers anymore. Engineer Kang Hyun-soo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Admiral, I've been working with the other engineers in the fleet. We found ways to modify our ships for better combat performance." "What kind of modifications?" "We're installing ramming systems on the cargo ships. If we can't outfight the Krek ships, we can ram them. We're also setting up boarding systems. Humans are better at close combat than most aliens." "Commander," Kim Tae-ho nodded. "The Kreks fight like most spacefaring races. They prefer long-range combat with energy weapons. They don't expect enemies to get close and board their ships. That's our advantage," Sergeant Yoon Dami added. "We fight differently than anyone else in the galaxy. We're willing to take risks that other species think are crazy." Ji-hai walked to the front of the room. "Let me make sure I understand this. We have a secret human fleet that's been preparing for decades to fight a war the Federation said would never happen." "Yes, Admiral," several voices said at once. "And now we're going to use this fleet to attack one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy." "Yes, Admiral. To save a species of peaceful aliens that we've never met before." "Yes, Admiral." Ji-hai smiled. "Then let's get to work." Over the next 18 hours, more human ships arrived. They came from colonies with names like New Seoul, Busan Station, Jeju Mining Complex, and Incheon shipyards. Each ship brought more soldiers, more weapons, and more determination. Lieutenant Commander Ro Yoon-ji arrived with a team of cyber warfare specialists. "Admiral, we can disrupt the Krek's communication systems. It won't stop them, but it will make their coordination much harder." Commodore Seo Jun-ho brought 3 ships that looked like cargo haulers, but were actually equipped with military-grade weapons. These ships have been flying supply runs for 10 years. The Federation inspectors never suspected they were warships. Major Hong Gi-tae came with a battalion of urban combat specialists. "My people have been training for city fighting. If we have to take those prison camps by force, we can do it." As the fleet grew, so did the plan. It was dangerous and risky, but it was also bold and aggressive. Everything the Federation said humans shouldn't be. "The Kreks have 6 warships and 12 orbital platforms," Ji-hai explained to the fleet commanders. "Normally that would be enough to stop a much larger force, but we're not going to fight them normally." She showed them the attack plan on the tactical display. "We're going to hit them from multiple directions at the same time. Half our ships will attack the orbital platforms directly. The other half will go straight for the Krek's warships." "Admiral," Oyajin said, "the orbital platforms have shields and armor. Our weapons might not be strong enough to destroy them quickly." "That's why we're not just going to shoot at them," Ji-hai replied. "We're going to ram them." The room went quiet. Ramming attacks were extremely dangerous. The crews of the ramming ships might not survive. "I know what I'm asking," Ji-hai said, "but those platforms can destroy our entire fleet if we give them time to coordinate their fire. We need to take them out fast." Bae Sungmin stood up. "Admiral, my Marines volunteer for the ramming missions." "So do my pilots," Oyajin said. "And my special operations teams," Lim Jae-sung added. Ji-hai felt proud and sad at the same time. These people were willing to die to save strangers. It was exactly what made humans different from most other species in the galaxy. "We'll need volunteers, not orders," she said. "No one should be forced into a suicide mission." But when they asked for volunteers, almost everyone raised their hands. Captain Wu Jin, who had started it all, stepped forward. Admiral, I want to lead the attack on the prison camps. The Defiance isn't much of a warship, but she can carry a lot of Marines. Agreed, Captain. As the final preparations were made, the human fleet moved into position. 200 ships, most of them converted civilian vessels, preparing to attack a major Krex military force. Dr. Minho was working in the medical bay, preparing for casualties. I never thought I'd be going into battle, he told his assistant. I became a doctor, to save lives, not to fight wars. You're still saving lives, Doctor, the assistant replied, just in a different way. Lieutenant Sora was at her communication station, coordinating with the other ships. Captain, all ships report ready for battle. Any word from the Federation? Wu Jin asked. They're ordering us to withdraw immediately and return to Federation space. Tell them we're having communication problems, Wu Jin said with a smile. In the engine room, Hyun-Soo was making final adjustments to the ramming system he had installed. If we're going to hit something, we're going to hit it hard, he muttered. The other ships in the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Human engineers were making last-minute weapon modifications. Human soldiers were checking their equipment. Human pilots were running final system checks. They all knew they were about to fight the most dangerous battle in human history. They also knew they were fighting for something more important than victory. They were fighting for the idea that innocent people should be protected, no matter what species they belonged to. They were fighting to prove that sometimes the galaxy needed someone willing to take risks that others called crazy. They were fighting to show the universe that humans weren't just primitive cargo haulers and miners. They were the children of a dangerous world, and they had not forgotten how to be dangerous themselves. Admiral Jihai gave the final order. All ships prepare to engage. Let's go save some people. The UES Defiance moved slowly through space, hidden by its stealth systems. Captain Li Wujin watched the Krex warships through the main screen. The enemy ships were huge and covered with weapons. His small cargo vessel looked like a toy next to them. How close can we get without them seeing us? Wujin asked engineer Kang Hyun-Soo. Hyun-Soo was working at his station, watching the energy readings. The stealth system is working well, but those are military scanners down there. I'd say we can get close enough to see what's happening on the planet, but not much closer. Dr. Choi Minho was studying the data they were collecting. Captain, I'm picking up some communications from the Krex ships. It's in their language, but I think I can understand some of it. What are they saying? Minho looked worried as he listened to the alien voices. They're talking about collecting something. They keep using a word that means harvest in their language. Harvest? Lieutenant Park So-ra turned from her communication station. What could they be harvesting from? The Villani? I don't know, but it doesn't sound good, Commander Kim Tae-ho said. Sergeant Yoon Da-mi came onto the bridge carrying a data pad. Captain, I've been studying the planet's surface with our long-range scanners. I can see the prison camp clearly now. She showed them the images on the main screen. The Villani prison camp was huge, with thousands of people crowded into small buildings. But what scared them most were the other buildings nearby. Those look like laboratories, Minho said. Big ones. And those? Wu Jin pointed to several, smaller buildings with thick walls. I think those are processing centers, Dami said quietly. They all knew what that meant. The Krex weren't just holding the Villani prisoner. They were doing something terrible to them. I need to get closer, Dami said. I need to see what's really happening down there. Too dangerous, Tae-ho said. If they catch you, they'll know we're here. If we don't find out what they're doing, we can't help anyone, Dami replied. Wu Jin thought for a moment. Take the small shuttle, stay low and keep the stealth system running. But if anything goes wrong, you get back here immediately. Yes, Captain. While Dami prepared for her reconnaissance mission, Minho continued listening to the Krex communications. What he heard made him feel sick. Captain, I think I know what they're harvesting, he said with a shaking voice. Tell me. The Villani brain produces a special fluid. It helps them think creatively and stay calm. The Kreks are taking that fluid and using it to make their soldiers stronger and smarter. Sora looked horrified. They're killing the Villani for their brain fluid? Not just killing them, Minho said. From what I can understand, they're keeping them alive and taking the fluid slowly. It's more effective that way. The bridge went silent. Everyone understood now why the Kreks had attacked the peaceful Villani. They wanted to use them like farm animals. Those monsters, Yunsu said angrily. 2 hours later, Dami returned from her mission. She looked like she had seen something terrible. Report, Wu Jin said. Dami took a deep breath. It's worse than we thought, Captain. Much worse. She put her data on the main screen. The images showed the inside of the Kreks facilities. They have thousands of Villani connected to machines. The machines are taking fluid from their brains while they're still alive. The Villani are conscious, but they can't move or speak. Minho covered his face with his hands. That's torture, pure torture. It gets worse, Dami continued. I saw them testing the enhanced soldiers. They're faster, stronger, and smarter than normal Kreks, and they're making hundreds of them. For what purpose? Tejo asked. I think they're planning to attack other peaceful species. The Villani are just the beginning. Wu Jin felt anger burning in his chest. The Kreks weren't just conquering one planet. They were starting a campaign to destroy every peaceful race in the galaxy. Captain, Hyunsu said, I'm detecting something else. The Kreks have orbital defense platforms around the planet, big ones. If anyone tries to attack, those platforms can destroy entire fleets. How many platforms? 12. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a Federation battleship. Wu Jin looked at the tactical display. 6 warships and 12 orbital platforms, all protecting a planet full of prisoners and laboratories. One small cargo ship couldn't do anything against that kind of force. Sir, Sora said, I'm getting responses to our message. What kind of responses? Human responses. Lots of them. She put the messages on the screen. They were coming from human colonies, human ships, and human military units all over the galaxy. Admiral Nam Ji Hai from New Busan Colony says she's mobilizing her forces, Sora read. Colonel Bei Sung Min from Sejong Station is preparing his Marines for combat. Captain Oh Ye Jin is gathering a fighter squadron. More messages kept coming. Human soldiers, pilots, engineers, and even miners were volunteering to help. They were coming from places Wu Jin had never heard of. How many ships are coming? He asked. Sora counted the messages. At least 200 ships, sir. Maybe more. Tejo looked amazed. Where are they getting 200 ships? The Federation only allows humans to have cargo vessels and small patrol boats. I don't think these are all official ships, Wu Jin said with a smile. He was right. The messages showed that humans had been secretly building and hiding warships for years. They had been preparing for something like this without anyone knowing. Captain, Minho said, there's something else we need to consider. The Kreks have been studying Villani biology for months now. They understand how to use the brain fluid to enhance their soldiers, but they might not understand human biology. What do you mean? Humans are different from other species. We come from a dangerous planet. Our bodies and minds are already built for fighting. The enhancements that work on Kreks might not work the same way on us. Dami understood immediately. You're saying we might have a natural advantage? Exactly. The Kreks think they're fighting another peaceful race that will be scared of their enhanced soldiers. They don't know they're about to fight humans. Wu Jin walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the Krek ships. How long until our people get here? The first ship should arrive in 72 hours, Sora said. The full force will be here in 96 hours. That might be too long, Dami said. I saw what they're doing to the Villani. Every hour we wait, more of them die. Wu Jin made a decision. Then we don't wait for everyone. As soon as we have enough ships to make a difference, we attack. Captain, Tejo said carefully, this isn't a Federation operation. If we attack the Kreks, we'll be starting a war. The war already started, Wu Jin replied. The Kreks started it when they began torturing innocent people. We're just going to finish it. Over the next day, they watched more Krek ships arrive at the planet. The enemy was bringing in more equipment and more soldiers. They were planning something big. They're not just harvesting the Volani from this planet, Minho realized. They're planning to take this operation to other worlds. The first human ships began arriving after 2 days. They came out of hyperspace in small groups, staying hidden from the Krek's sensors. Most of them were converted cargo ships like the Defiance, but some were clearly military vessels that shouldn't have existed. Admiral Nam Ji Hai arrived on a ship called the Soul's Pride. It looked like a cargo hauler, but Wu Jin could see the hidden weapons and armor. She came aboard the Defiance to plan the attack. "Captain Lee," she said as she came onto his bridge, "you've started something here that's going to change everything." "I just wanted to help the Volani," Wu Jin said. "And now you're going to help every peaceful species in the galaxy," she replied. "The Kreks think they can torture innocent people without consequences. It's time to show them they're wrong." As more human ships arrived, they began to plan their attack. The Kreks had superior numbers and technology, but the humans had something else. They had anger. And they had the fighting spirit of a species that had survived on a dangerous world for millions of years. The Kreks were about to learn why the other species called Earth a deathworld, and they were about to meet its children. Captain Lee Wu Jin sat in his chair on the bridge of the UES Defiance. The old cargo ship was not much to look at, but it was his ship. He had been flying supply runs for 3 years now. It was boring work, but it paid well enough. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Lieutenant Park Sora was at her station, checking the communication channels like she did every hour. Commander Kim Tae-ho was reading reports at his desk. The rest of the crew was either sleeping or working in other parts of the ship. Wu Jin looked out at the stars through the main window. Space was beautiful, but it could also be very lonely. He had been in space for most of his adult life. First, as a soldier in the Federation Marines, then as a cargo captain. The pay was better now, but he missed the action sometimes. "Captain," Sora called out suddenly. "I'm getting something strange on the emergency channel." Wu Jin turned to look at her. "What kind of strange?" Sora put her hand to her earpiece and listened carefully. Her face went pale. "It's a distress call from the Volani colony on Kepler 442b. The Volani were one of the peaceful races in the galaxy. They looked like tall, thin humans but with blue skin and large eyes. They never fought wars or even argued much. They spent their time growing food and making art. "Put it on the main speaker," Wu Jin said. The bridge filled with a scared voice speaking in the Volani language. Sora was one of the few humans who could understand it well. They're saying that soldiers came from space. Big ships with weapons. The soldiers are taking people away. They're asking for help from anyone who can hear them." Tae-ho looked up from his reports. "Which soldiers? Who would attack the Volani?" Sora listened more to the message. "They keep saying Kreks. The Kreks Empire." Wu Jin felt his stomach drop. The Kreks were bad news. They were a warrior race that loved to fight and conquer. They had been quiet for the last few years, but everyone knew they were always looking for new planets to take over. "How long ago did this message start?" Wu Jin asked. "It's been going for about 6 hours. The signal is getting weaker." Wu Jin stood up and walked to the navigation station. Kepler 442b was only 2 days away if they pushed the engines hard. "Captain," Tae-ho said, "we should report this to Federation Command." "Do it," Wu Jin said. "Send them everything we have." For the next hour, they sent messages to Federation Command. They explained about the distress call and asked for instructions. When the answer came back, Wu Jin was angry, but not surprised. "They say it's outside Federation space," Tae-ho read from the message. "They can't send ships without starting a war with the Kreks Empire. They told us to continue our supply run and forget about it." "Forget about it," Sora said. "There are millions of Volani on that planet." Wu Jin sat back down in his chair. The Federation was always like this. They talked about peace and helping others, but when it came time to actually help, they always had excuses. "Captain," Sora said quietly, I'm still getting the distress signal. It's weaker, but it's still there. Wu Jin closed his eyes and thought. He had been a soldier once. He had taken an oath to protect innocent people. That oath didn't have an expiration date. Taeho, how long would it take us to get to Kepler 442b? 2 days if we push the engines, but Captain, we have orders. I know what our orders are. Wu Jin opened his eyes and looked at his crew. I also know what's right. He stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. The Federation won't help the Volani because they're afraid of starting a war. But those people are dying right now while we sit here and do nothing. What are you thinking? Taeho asked. I'm thinking we go take a look, just a look. We see what's happening and then we decide what to do. Sora turned in her chair to face him. The Federation will be very angry if we disobey orders. Let me worry about the Federation, Wu Jin said. Right now I'm worried about people who need help. Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. Well, we are just going to look, right? Looking isn't against orders. That's right, Wu Jin said. We're just going to look. Dr. Choi Min-ho came onto the bridge carrying a data pad. He was the ship's doctor and scientist. Captain, I heard about the distress call. I've been reading about the Volani. They're completely peaceful. They don't even have weapons on their planet. What else do you know about them? Wu Jin asked. They're very smart, but they use their intelligence for art and science, not war. Their brains are different from ours. They think differently. Some scientists say that makes them very creative. And now the Kreks have them, Sora said sadly. Wu Jin made his decision. Change course for Kepler 442b, maximum speed. Aye, Captain, the pilot called out. As the ship turned toward the Volani planet, Wu Jin called his senior officers to the bridge. Sergeant Yoon Dami came up from the security deck. She was a tough woman who had served with Wu Jin in the Marines. Engineer Kang Hyun-soo came from the engine room wiping grease off his hands. We're going to help the Volani, Wu Jin told them. I won't order anyone to come with me. This could get us all in trouble. Dami crossed her arms. Captain, with respect, if you're going into danger, you'll need someone to watch your back. The engines will hold together, Hyun-soo said. And if we need to modify anything for combat, I can do it. Min-ho nodded. Those people need medical help. I have to go. Wu Jin looked around at his crew. These were good people. They were willing to risk their careers and maybe their lives to help strangers. All right then, he said. But we do this smart. We don't know what we're walking into. For the next 2 days they prepared. Dami checked all the weapons on the ship. They didn't have many, just some basic defensive guns. Hyun-soo worked on the engines and the stealth system. Min-ho prepared medical supplies. Taeho studied everything he could find about the Kreks Empire. They're warriors, but they're not stupid, he told Wu Jin. They planned their attacks carefully. If they took over the Volani planet, they had a good reason. What kind of reason? That's what worries me. The Volani don't have valuable minerals or strategic location. The only thing special about them is them. As they got closer to Kepler 442b, Sora kept listening to the distress signal. It was getting weaker, but she could still understand some of it. They're saying the soldiers are taking people to big buildings. They're doing something to them there, but I can't understand what. Experiments, Taeho said grimly. The Kreks love to experiment on other races. When they finally reached the edge of the Kepler 442b system, Wu Jin ordered the ship to stop. They turned on the stealth system and slowly moved closer to the planet. What they saw made them all feel sick. There were 6 large Kreks warships in orbit around the planet. Each one was twice the size of the Defiance. On the planet's surface, they could see fires and smoke. The beautiful Volani cities were being destroyed. Dear God, Min-ho whispered. Wu Jin stared at the scene below. He had seen war before, but this was different. This was slaughter. Captain, Sora said, I'm not getting any more distress signals. Because there's no one left to send them, Dami said angrily. But Wu Jin wasn't ready to give up. Scan for life signs. If there are survivors, we need to know where they are. The scan took several minutes. When it was done, Hyun-soo looked up with tears in his eyes. There are still life signs on the planet. Thousands of them. But they're all in one area. near what looks like a big complex of buildings. A prison camp, Taiho said. Wu Jin stood up. One small cargo ship against 6 warships. It should have been hopeless. But as he looked at his crew, he realized something. They weren't going to run away, none of them. They were going to fight. Sora, can you send a message without the Krex detecting it? I think so, Captain. Good. Send a message to every human ship, every human colony, every human military unit you can reach. Tell them what's happening here. Tell them the Villani need help. What should I tell them to do? Wu Jin looked out at the burning planet below. Tell them to come ready for war.